Hello and welcome everyone to tonight's Healer's Journey. Tonight we are talking about no limitations. And sometimes I hesitate to use a negative word like no, but it feels really important to me tonight to use the word no and say no limitations. And you'll see why in a few minutes. I'm Rosemary. This is my dog Gracie. And I won't venture any more into who we are and why we're here so much, because if you've been following the Healer's Journey, you know that the Healer's Journey is about you and not so much about me. It's about how you are waking up to and recognizing and discovering your healing abilities and how we can guide you to be on your path as an illuminated healer. In fact, we proclaim your intentions and power, that the information, thoughts, and ideas presented here honor your intentions to empower you with natural choices that support personal well-being. We're all about self-healing and personal healing because we really can't do more in the world than that. And by doing that, that is extremely powerful. We convey this message with compassion, truth, and openness, and our intention is to help you see beyond the filters of disclaimers, which tend to support a one-sided approach to the health industry. And disclaimers aren't the only filters that are out there. We're going to be talking about some other filters today. And I'm saving the last part until later because it is part of our presentation. All right, if you can see the screen here, you can see some of the words here, a lot of negative words. It's impossible. No, you can't. Don't do that. Don't go there. You don't deserve it. It's too expensive. You're not good enough. Have you heard these things before? Mm-hmm. And have they been directed at you? Have you been told no ever?
Yeah.
Might even be the first word you learned, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about you can't? I hear people say quite frequently, I can't. And the only reason why they say I can't is because they've been told that they can't, or that they believe that they can't. And is something really too expensive? Okay, well, maybe. You know, if we're talking billions of dollars or maybe millions of dollars, and for some people thousands of dollars. But expensive and affordability have a lot to do with how you feel about something, and there are ways to actually remove the limitation of something being too expensive, or that the limitation of you don't deserve it, or that you're not good enough. All of these things here, all of these phrases here, we've heard before. We've been told, don't do that. We've been told it's too expensive, you don't deserve it, you're not good enough. We've been told that, either verbally or by actions, by a feeling that we get, by just knowing. And knowing it and feeling it are as powerful as hearing it. So even if somebody didn't tell you with words that you are not good enough, even if they don't tell you that, maybe their actions told you that. Maybe their expression or their body language told you that. And it is true. If you believe it, it is absolutely true. And so we've always had this throughout our whole lives. We get it all the time. And in fact, we repeat. We're guilty of repeating these words to other people. Now, we do these things, we say no, partly because we want to protect someone, we'll say no to children, for example, if they look like they're going to climb the furniture and jump off of something. We don't want them to hurt themselves. So saying no or prohibiting somebody from doing something could be a survival thing. It could be, oh, you probably shouldn't do that because it could hurt you. It could kill you. You don't walk out into a highway, right? Okay, no, don't do that. Parents, teachers, guardians, friends, relatives, etc., they may be offering guidance, and they're offering the kind of guidance that they learned themselves. But basically, it can be a survival mechanism. It can be done out of caring. However, if the no's and the you can'ts and it's too expensive feels like judgment, feels like limitation on our self-worth, feels like we are being excluded or limited or put down in some way, then this is what we're learning. We learn these limitations. Now that's a pretty powerful statement. We learn these limitations because when we're born, nobody's told us no yet, right? Nobody's told us that we're not worthy. Nobody's told us anything. Nobody's judged us on anything yet. But they do. So when we're born, and we do go deeper back into that. If you've been with us on any of these Healer's Journey webinars, you know that we've talked about Akashic records and karma and previous lives and some of those wonderful things. We do carry signatures with us. We do carry soul contracts. We do carry that, but that's a deeper topic. I just want to point out that moment of birth when we are as close to our original self as possible, that nobody's told us no yet. And so we learn these things, and it becomes very ingrained in our nature. It becomes very ingrained in our activities, our experiences, our thoughts, our choices, all of it. All of it matters. What are your limitations? Do you feel like you have limitations? Might your limitations come across as a physical limitation? Might it be a time limitation or money? Our perception says that we live in a finite reality. There are edges. There are boxes. There's only so much to go around. That there's an edge to our property. There is an amount of money that we have access to. We only have 24 hours in a day. We only have, as far as we can see. Okay, there's our limit, our physical reality. And we create this. Our perception says that we live in a finite reality. So everything has a hardness, a surface. It can be measured. If you look at time as a limitation, we say, okay, there's a lifespan. There's birth, life, death. All right, so there's a lifespan to things. An oak tree has a longer lifespan than a human, for example, or that a fruit fly has a shorter lifespan than a dog. And when we look at lifespan, all right, that's a limitation. That's dictated by what's in the genes, what the animals and plants, even bacteria, all of these things have coded in their systems as a predetermined lifespan. And yet, if we look at lifespan of humans today, oh, what, 70s, in the 70s for men and women. That's the expected lifespan. But there are people who live to be 100, and there are people who lived a long time ago and in certain areas of the world who live well beyond 100, right? And so lifespan, well, there are variations in that. We don't have to keel over and die at 73. We don't have to say, oh gosh, I'm 100 now. I should be, dead next week. It doesn't work like that. Lifespan is dictated by many things, and so we can remove some of these limitations that perhaps limit lifespan. Age, physical, emotional, and spiritual age. What if, have you ever talked to a kid that seems so mature? What about the child prodigies who can play the piano at 5 years old, like a concert pianist? What about the wise soul in a young child who can say profound things to you because they have a sense of knowing about them? Or what about the very old person, I'm not going to put a number on very old, but perceived as very old, running a marathon? So we have put limitations on even our age. Oh, you can't expect to run a marathon when you're 85 years old. No, people who are 85 don't do that, right? Well, there's a limitation. But maybe the person who's 85 doesn't see it as a limitation, doesn't see age as a limitation. So we're spending some time talking about limitations, and of course the clock as well, 24 hours a day, that's all we get. Done. That's it, 24 hours a day. And okay, maybe your lifespan is dictated as well. You're only going to get 73 years. And your lifetime, this is it. You're born and then you live your life and then you die and there's nothing else. You see? So these limitations here they're perceived by people as true, as real, and as a box of some sort, a boundary, a wall, a veil, however you want to describe these limitations. They do exist if you believe they exist. I tend not to believe they exist so much. Other limitations might be physical distance. Somebody who lives on the East Coast can't see somebody who lives on the West Coast, right? Not possible. If you're just kind of looking out your window to the east or to the west, you're not going to be able to see them, right? There's a physical distance that is a perceived limitation. Your environment, your home, your office, your neighborhood, the environment that you create can be a limitation. It can be small. It can be crowded. It can be cluttered. Or it can be open. It can be clean and neat. So we can remove limitations by seeing our environment in a different way. What about lifestyle? Oh, I can't do that because, I'm a doctor. I can't do that other thing. I can't paint pictures. All right. Well, I don't have that ability. I never tried that before. I don't know how to do that, and hey, I don't even want to do that. So even your desire can be a limitation. I can't buy a boat. Why would I want a boat, right? I don't have the money for a boat. I don't live near the water. I'm afraid of the water. Okay, so a person like that has limitations that prohibit them from enjoying the water, having a boat, being out on the water. Maybe that's okay. I'm just saying that it does exist. It is a limitation. Money, I talk to people pretty much every day who see money as a limitation. I don't have enough money, or I'm saving up um, to do this thing. I only have so much income. I can't afford to buy that. And boy, I know I need this, but I can't afford it. So money is a huge limitation for so many people. And what about emotional attachments as a limitation? Emotional attachments, we get attached to how we feel about objects. We get attached to how we feel about people. And so there are some relationships that survive many, many, many years, even though they are abusive, strained, difficult in some way, because there's an emotional attachment of some kind. And that becomes a limitation then. Personal knowledge can be a limitation as well as personal power. I'm not strong enough to do a triathlon. I personally probably wouldn't do that. I don't want to do that. But if I wanted to do that, do you think I could? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I probably could. Mm-hmm. It might take me a little longer, but I probably could, you know? And personal knowledge, oh gosh, I don't know anything about Chinese herbs. I don't know anything about acupuncture and where the needles go. Well, if I wanted to learn it, I could, right? Mm-hmm. But my personal power and my personal knowledge don't have to be limited just because I don't have a particular skill. I can overcome that. We can all overcome our limitations if that's something we want to do. And the biggest limitations, besides money, are more focused on time and distance. And I'll get back to that in just a minute. Now, what if there are no limitations? Wow. What if there are no limitations? No limitations about money, no limitations about time, no limitations about our power or our knowledge. Can we transcend what we believe to be our limitations? Yes, of course. It's possible. Absolutely. And that feels so much different than, no, you can't. Get off of there. You don't deserve that. It's impossible. Yeah? So saying yes, saying it's possible, saying of course, not only feels good, it changes everything when you say there are no limitations. We'll give you examples of it as we get toward the end. How is it possible? Skills, knowledge, and practice. Having skills, having knowledge, and practicing the skills and knowledge can do a lot to remove limitations. I remember when, it was some years ago, my brother was in the hospital. He was taken there by emergency because he had a pulmonary embolism, a clot that was between his heart and lungs. And that's life-threatening stuff. And he was taken there. I got a call from his son, and he explained to me that what they were going to do, all the medications and blood thinners, and they hoped it would work. All right. 3,000 miles away, there was this distance between us. And there was time also. There was a time distance. It would have taken me a lot of time to get there if I had flown there. And, we were 3 hours time difference on the clock as well. But we grew up together, right? So we're connected. And that night I had a dream. I won't go into the dream so much, but that he walked through a black door and I walked through after him, running after him, yelling his name, and grabbed his hand. He turned around to look at me and he grabbed my hand, and then I woke up. So when he recovered, and he did recover, and I'm not telling you everything because it's kind of fun and personal and a longer story. He talked to me from the hospital, and I told him about my dream, and he said, all he said was spooky, because that was kind of spooky, it was spooky to him. But a few days later, he was home from the hospital. Whatever they did worked, and he called me up to say he was okay, and he said, that dream you had? I said, yeah. How could I forget it, right? It was spooky. He said, I had the same dream. Except, who was on the other side of me, he said? It was our mother, who had already passed away years ago. He was perhaps between the worlds and chose to take my hand. That's the only thing I can derive from that. Astral travel, perhaps. Being connected in some way. But do you see how distance was not a limitation for connecting? Yeah? Can you see how the intentions and prayer and Reiki that I offered him while he was in such dire straits, can you see how that might have actually been a benefit, supported all of the things that the hospital was also doing? It's very possible. So the skills that you have aren't necessarily the ones that you learned in school. They aren't necessarily the ones that you pick up along the way. They might be ones that are more energy related. They might be ones that you discover and learn when you decide to step on the path of being a healer. You learn that there are skills you can use to eliminate limitations. And that's what I love about the Reiki classes, especially Reiki 2, is we have symbols for that. We have intentions for that that remove the words, I can't. So I could have said, I can't go to my brother because I live 3,000 miles away. I can't be there right now because of the distance and the time. I can't do anything. Well, I chose not to have limitations because I have skills, because I have knowledge, and because I practice these every day. Then I can say I have no limitations. And it feels pretty darn good to say that. So what are some of these tools? What's the skills? What's the knowledge that we can have as healers on our journey to help remove some of these limitations? Well, one of the very first tools that I began using was meditation. And I experienced my most meditative moments when I was finishing up a yoga class, and I don't know how it is with your yoga classes, but some of the ones I go to, you end up laying on the floor for a while, right? Just in a pose, what is it, Savasana? You just lay down, basically. You connect to the earth. And that's when I started seeing colors. That's when I saw purple. That's when I saw green and felt amazing. And I remembered how that feeling came about. I remembered how I got there, through a yoga practice, through calming myself, through getting out of my head. And I was able to then repeat that experience. So meditation is one of my very first tools that I used, even before Reiki. Reiki classes, of course, opened the door, allowed me to say I can, allowed me to overcome the limitations of edges of things, the limitations of, gee, I can only see what's around me. No, I can see what's even far away. I can see people who have passed away. I can see a little bit into the future. I can see what's happening around the world if I practice and I get myself in a meditative state. I can be somewhere else completely. And that's something more in our advanced skills about how that can come about. Intention's a very important tool. Probably your most important tool is your intention. And various healing tools that we like to use. I love crystals. I love essential oils. I love tuning forks. I love all of these things that that have a vibration and contribute to the intentions and to the Reiki and to the meditative process. I love oracle card decks, tarot cards. I love feathers and candles. I love that all of these tools used with intention, as they are in physical form, help enhance the process of meditation, help enhance the process of connecting to all that is, to reaching deep or reaching high or reaching beyond in a way that we maybe couldn't before because we didn't know how. Shamanic practices, another healing tool that has been profound in my growth and development as a healer, to be able to embody the feeling of a tree, for example, being in the tree, feeling all of the things that a rhinoceros would feel, feeling, the heaviness of the horn on a rhinoceros, because I'm meditating with rhinoceros and using shamanic practices to journey with animals, to connect more deeply. Choices, lifestyle. All of these things are part of eliminating limitations. You can choose, for example, when we talked about environment earlier, you can choose to have an environment that is cluttered and crowded and, not clean and has things in it you don't like. You can choose that. Or you can choose to have a clean environment and not cluttered and very pleasant, to surround yourself with things that bring you joy. You can choose a lifestyle that is healthy, that is constructive, or you can choose a lifestyle that is not healthy and not constructive. It is all your choice. It is all your sense of being. Now, there are ways in which you can make choices for a healthier lifestyle. These are things we've talked about in other webinars, and I'll just briefly touch upon them. Detoxification is my number one. It's my number one go-to, because detoxification is something that most people don't do. And we can detoxify with supplements. We can with oral chelation supplements. We can detoxify with certain foods. We can detoxify our emotions as well. We can detoxify our environment by removing toxic substances. Don't use them. Use something that is clean and non-toxic. We can cleanse and declutter. We can choose whole foods and supplements. We can exercise, do yoga, dance, and movement. We can connect to animals and we can connect to people. And so all of these are tools that we can use and choices that we can make to change our lifestyle and to help remove those limitations. Finally, beliefs and trust. And here's where I'll put the second part of our proclamation from the beginning. We also proclaim that we are whole, vibrant beings in physical form and maintain sovereignty to nourish, support, and empower our lives with divine gifts and a natural ability to heal. So we as healers on the healer's journey believe that we can, believe that there are no limits, trust in the abilities and skills that we have developed and studied, believe and trust that we can, and we transcend all of those limitations. There are no limitations. In fact, the physical reality we perceive, though it can be measured, appears solid and has substance, etc., may be less real than we think. So just because you can see it, just because you can measure it, just because you can touch it, knock on it, contain it, it doesn't mean that it's actually real. Because reality, the real part, is that there are no limitations. So let's explore freedom for a moment. What would it be like if you could tap into the energy of all things? You could feel the sap running through the tree. You could hear what the birds are saying to you. You could discover your intuitive abilities. What would it be like if you could recognize God, Spirit, Source, the Divine, whatever you want to call God? What if you could recognize God in everything and everyone? What if you could see it? Him, her, the Divine. See, feel, know, and sense God in everything and everyone. Wow. What would it be like if you were able to recognize barriers as perceptions that were given to you? The barrier of, it's impossible. The barrier or the wall of, you don't deserve it. The barrier of, no, you can't. What if you could recognize those things, those experiences, as perceptions that were given to you? And those perceptions that were given to you may, in fact, have been given to them who gave it to you. What if you were able to see yourself as whole? Not fragmented, not torn, not ill, not less than, not undeserving, but what if you were able to see yourself as whole? Wouldn't that feel good? Wouldn't that feel like freedom? That would be really something to explore, huh? So instead of saying, I can't, or I'm not good enough, or I don't know how, you can change that. You can have total freedom. We like to offer our Apprentice and Mentoring program as a way to begin the process. If you're a healer on the healer's journey, then you can explore sensory intuition. It is our gold standard apprentice program. And I think I was supposed to get back to something. We were talking about Reiki 2. Removing the barriers of, oh, yeah, you have symbols for that. In Reiki 2, there are symbols and intentions that we use. So we can actually be there, like I was with my brother. You can actually be there in your mind and physically. Did he actually take my hand? I think his soul did. I think his spirit did take my hand. And I think that's why we were able to keep him. He made the choice, and he took my hand, and it wasn't my time to go, so he better come back, right? We're connected. Our our Illumination Reiki program is for healers to learn some of the advanced training, to go into those depths that we were talking about, to do some of the astral travel work and to do some of the journey and connecting to higher self, to use some of the tools that we like to incorporate in our classes. And that comes in our Illumination Reiki program. IlluminationReiki.com is live, and that was our new logo. I'll go back to it because it's so beautiful. Our new logo was born today, and thank you to Karen Karen Servin in Cedar Mill for designing that logo for us. And I always like to ask, where will your path lead you? Where will your path lead you? Are you on the path of the healer's journey? Are you joining us for these webinars? Do you have questions? Is this something that feels good to you? Is your path going to involve working with animals or working with people who are also looking for the healer's journey? Are you going to consider teaching, or are you considering devoting some of your life purpose to some other aspect of being a healer? I would love to know what's going on. I would love to know where your path will lead you. And so the best way to reach me is through my website, Second Nature Healing. You can also go to illuminationreiki.com or email me, rosemary@secondnaturehealing.com. And if you are not registered currently for the webinar, you want to go to secondnaturehealing.com/webinar and get your name on the list so that you can receive all of these recordings directly to your inbox. And of course, thank you. Thank you for being here. And if you are on any of the live webinars, then after I turn off the recording, we get to chat for a while, and you get to be a part of a conversation that is unique to you and unique to the experience here. So I wanted to thank everybody once again for joining us tonight, and have a good night.